Hi, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my work here. Well, my name is Nicholas Frenette. I've been doing art since a very early age. I was apprenticed to a master Dutch painter. He had mastered Dutch portraiture, but he was from St. John, New Brunswick. And he taught me to do paintings, not such as this. This is more like my style here. But he taught me to do paintings more like, you know, this, more realistic sort of style, more classical, more, I suppose, a little bit more believable and a little bit more natural. And he taught me how to paint in oil. But soon after, I branched out into pencil crayon and acrylic paint and such like that. Of course, I kept oil paint and images such as these. But currently, I'm doing such work as, you know, more fantastical portraits of figures that might not necessarily exist. But they're inspired from, you know, the music I listen to, particular characters in Baroque opera. This one, for example, and this would be a very good example because it's a self-portrait as the character Orlando from the opera Orlando by George Friedrich Handel. And he has a pomegranate on his staff. And it's really just a fantasy portrait, just something that I like to look at. I expect some other people might like to look at it as well. It's done in acrylic paint. It's in my, you know, my current style. This is the style I developed here. You notice this in around the eyes and, you know, the way hands are rendered. Hands are often just a little bit too small for the features. You know, the torso and the abs and, you know, whatever this musculature is called it's also quite condensed, you know, almost like a corset. And a lot of my figures, even if they're depicted nude, end up looking like that as well. And here's another character. This one is just my imagination of what the character Semele from Greek mythology might look like, and from the opera Semele by George Friedrich Handel. And here we have Juno chasing Jupiter up in the sky. We have a nice lush landscape, ideal for Semele to go to bed, sleep, because she would always sleep. If she wasn't with Zeus, then she would be sleeping. Of course, she couldn't sleep, so she sang a lovely aria as to why sleep does not leave her. Anyway, I portrayed her, you know, another acrylic painting. I mean, they function as sort of a duet, these two, but really they're both independent pieces. So there's that side to my work, but there's also, you know, because my work is just so influenced by classical art and everything, I have a fondness for the composers. So here I've drawn a picture of George Friedrich Handel, my favorite composer. I made him quite fat, but not quite as fat as Handel might have been. Perhaps this might be Handel in his late 30s, early 40s. This would be a young Handel. I spent the most time on the hair. The hair is quite a statement, I think. And this would be a pencil crayon drawing right here. Done with pencil crayons, Prismacolors in particular. And yeah, quite a substantial, I don't quite know what to say, but I'm quite excited about it because, I mean, doing portraits of composers is just a lovely thing. They're artists too, and this is my tribute to them. And I want other people to see that I recognize them as such, so I'll depict them. And I want to do one of Antonio Vivaldi, I want to do one of Mozart, maybe even Beethoven. I rarely do other visual artists, though. I'm a little bit of a snob like that. But yes, good old Handel, he's having himself quite the time. So there's these types of portraits I do. And then there's also portraits over here, you know, portrait of a lovely dog, portrait of a lovely cat, morning castrato, afternoon baritone. Very lovely rendered pieces. They have no story behind them whatsoever. They're just evoking my fascination with Baroque music in general. Just look at the landscape here, and look at how different riffs are going in and out. It's like a musical composition, in my opinion. And these butterflies act as accentuations of the musical composition. But your eye goes from the dog to the butterfly to, the background, basic parts of the image. And then you arrive at a specific part, which is the ground that's holding the dog up. And your eye moves around it in such a way that just keeps you rolling. And that's what the whole drawing is about. This drawing is just about, space. But this part of the drawing is about interest. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, you too. And yes. Oh, another important element of my work is the signature. Because growing up, I've always been harassed about signing my work. People say, why don't you sign it? People say, why don't you not sign it? People say, if you sign it, you'll ruin it. People say, well, if you sign it, then that's the only way people will know who you are. So I've come up with my own way of signing the work. And I just insert it into the composition like this. A nice little, almost like a piece of jewelry. It's almost, I've only been doing this for, the past year. And it's almost as though the art is wearing jewelry now. And so that is how I sign my work. The signature is the jewelry which makes the art beautiful. And the name is that which makes the art sell in modern society today. I've exhibited in galleries next to a group of 7 artists. My work didn't sell because I wasn't John A. or Jack A. McDonald, whatever his name. Lauren Harris, he's a big one. But anyway, I've exhibited next to those works. So, the signature is a very important part of the composition. And, this is just my commentary on the signature. People are going to say, oh, and you know what? Even still, I get people who say, well, NF, who's that? Who's that? Well, you know what? It's NF in all of them. So, sorry, but if you don't know who I am, I don't really care. So yes, that is some of my work in a nutshell. I've talked about the medium, I've talked about, various subject matter and stuff like that. I suppose we can have a look over here at the ink drawings, talk a little bit about them.
I was asking if you knew.
Now, in terms of subject matter and style, same thing as the acrylic paintings and the pencil crayon drawings and the oil paintings. The only difference is you have this etching quality. And people think that these are prints, but they are in fact originals. And I just want people to know that, these are precious originals that are meant to be just one of a kind. I'm not going to reproduce these. I'm not going to reproduce them. And, these are just fascinations with the shapes that I appreciate in life. I really appreciate color, don't get me wrong. But I also appreciate, because I find the figures I draw just infinitely seductive and the subject matter is infinitely captivating, that it's worthwhile to, depict them in, just the black and white, just the raw sort of thing. Yeah, I think it's conceptually pleasing by times. And sometimes I work in charcoal too, but rarely. I do get people a lot, though, saying that I certainly should become a printmaker, but I don't think I will. And that is my work of the exhibition in a nutshell. Thank you so much for your time. I have 5 minutes before I freak out. No, the heat just really bothers me. Yeah, and that lady was like, why are you putting a jacket over your head? After? No, just small. Oh, this was yours? It didn't go too bad. I think I made... I've got like 3. I haven't made. Yeah. Just recommend you reading that.